Alright, where was I? Yes. Time for another suggestion episode. I had fun doing the previous couple. I will be doing another one here where I'll go on social media and I will ask my friends on social media to give me suggestions of what I should talk about. And that's kind of awesome. The sort of downside with that is it often ends up with me having lots and lots of content. Last time I went really long, so I may actually end up breaking this up into 2 episodes. Bear with me if I do that. If I don't get to you on the first one, I will get to you on the second one. But that said, we'll see. Yeah, I might be able to get all these suggestions covered in a reasonable amount of time. So we'll see. First one comes from Guy Wiles, who is an old buddy of mine. Guy used to be my roommate. He is occasionally an angry little man, but in the best sort of way. I love him to death. I love his wife. She's awesome. They are some of my favorite people. Guy is also a budding mad scientist and probably should never be put in power over the world because anyone over the height of, say, 5'10" would be cut off at the knees. But we'll move on. Guy's first question / suggestion for a subject was the tendency of gamer and LARP culture to be attractive to those who are on the fringes of societal norms. And that's sort of a trick question because it really depends on what you accept as societal norms. And a lot of people accept things as a societal norm that maybe isn't. That said, I kind of get his point. LARPing is, even now with the rise of geek culture, LARPing is still sort of on the edges. It is a fringe activity. This is not to say that there's anything about it that should be fringe or strange or unusual, but for whatever reason, it's still looked down on, even in geek circles, even in gamer circles. I know plenty of gamers who think gaming is weird. They look down on LARPers the same way, people who look down on gamers or look down on gamers. And I think part of that is because everybody wants to feel like they're better than someone, I guess. I don't know. That said, because it is a fringe thing and the people are already sort of doing something weird, I guess they're willing to accept broader ranges of what is normal. And that accepting environment, that sort of welcoming environment, helps to bring in people who maybe don't get to feel that every day. I know that I'm a weird guy, and as a weird guy, I don't have to feel weird when I'm with my friends. With my friends, the LARPers and buddies I've made over the years through LARPing, I'm relatively normal-ish. So I guess part of the fact is that LARPing in and of itself is fringe, and therefore the people who are already used to feeling a little bit on the outside and weird find an environment full of people who are used to it. I guess. That's one reason, anyway. Alternatively, the importance of theater arts in the age of business suits and cubicle art-style workstations. You know what? I don't care what your job is. I don't care what your work environment is. Being clear-spoken, presenting yourself well, will help you. The difference between a manager and somebody who's just good at his job is the manager knows how to tell people how to do their job. and is smart enough to know when they should. Theater arts is often good to teach you how to take direction. It's good for teaching you how to present yourself, how to speak clearly, how to understand the power of voice and position and stance. These are all valuable lessons, no matter what your job is. I mean, sure, if you're a garbage truck driver, you know what, you're not going to be spending your day talking to people, but you've got to talk to your boss. And maybe someday you don't want to be just a garbage truck driver. You want to be something more. And if you want to be something more, you have to impress people. So, theater arts, definitely a valuable thing in business suits and cubicle-style work. Just because the person who's impressive in their presentation will be memorable well beyond maybe their relative merit. I've known plenty of people who sounded great that weren't that bright. And, you know, it helps you. So I think the importance of it is pretty clear. I'm sticking with Facebook first here because it's a shorter list, and then I'll switch over to the suggestions I got from Google+. Let's see. Lynn Taylor. Lynn is a lovely lady, also a fellow LARPer, also somebody I've known for years and years. She's probably one of the nicer people I know, and it's kind of weird to say that because I know a lot of nice people, but she's one of the nicest. Wants to know about the dangers of stepping on four-sided dice, and you know what? I am going to reference a message from Google Plus on that because S. John Ross also asked, four-sided die, threat or menace? It seems people have a lot of hard feelings about four-sided die. I can't say I blame them. In other usage, it could just as easily be called a caltrop. Just going to put that out there. It's small. It's a triangle. It's a pyramid. You step on it, it kills your foot. You know, you could break your foot on the one if it's good hard plastic. It can cause you to misstep. It is a danger if you leave it lying around. But I am going to add, a smart gamer keeps track of his dice. Always. His or her dice, to be clear. But the smart gamer always keeps track of their dice. Your dice should not be on the floor. Just saying. It's right up there with don't mess with another man's dice. Don't leave dice lying on the floor. Let's see. Charles Tarley, also an old friend of mine. He's kind of a weird dude, but he is kind of awesome. He's like family. Unfortunately, he chose the suggestion, fun with flags. And so he gets the Sheldon Cooper Shut the Hell Up Award. Deadlands. Tom Morris brings up Deadlands and how complicate and original the system. I think he means complicated and original the system was. Honestly, the system was all right. I mean, I didn't hate it, but it didn't, just blow me away at the time either. It was nice. It was interesting. I like the fact that they used playing cards as part of the system. But ultimately, what made Deadlands interesting was the setting. And that could have been just as interesting with, Fate or anything else. The setting is deeply compelling. The rules, they did a good job of trying to make the rules tie into the setting, and they deserve kudos for that. But, was it deeply innovative or complicated? I've definitely played more complicated. And while it was interesting, it wasn't necessarily the selling point of the game for me. So, but other people may differ with me on that. Deadlands has got a strong following, and I've played it, and I enjoyed it. But yeah, the system was not necessarily the selling point on that. So I'm going to leave that one to be on that one. All right, on to the next suggestion. There are so many people had so many good suggestions. All right, wow, and I'm at 10 minutes already. All right. So, Adam Miller, also an old friend of mine. He wasn't actually a former roommate, but he might as well have been because he was right next door and we'd just come over and hang out at his place all the time. So, he might as well have been my roommate. Anyway, he had a suggestion about the length of gaming sessions, frequency, and supporting things between sessions. Character communication via time stopping when not at the table. And maybe branching out into group, guild interactions for the same topic. Alright, so this is kind of a big subject, so this may be the last bit I talk about on this episode, and then I do the rest tomorrow. Frequency of gaming is ideally whatever the group can bear, i.e., what everybody in the group can enjoy, and they don't have, like, problems. The days of being able to play an entire weekend-long tabletop game for most of my friends at this time in their lives is past. I'm going to turn off this extra light because I don't like it. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Much better. That time is past. And I think part of the reason that time has passed is people have obligations on their time. Part of it is also we're not kids anymore, spending a weekend of pure tabletop gaming sounds fun up until you start losing sleep and you're living off Mountain Dew all weekend. Then it stops being as fun. I think that my ideal frequency is a couple of games a week with different groups. A game a week or a game every 2 weeks is ideal for me if I'm just playing with one group. If I have multiple groups, then maybe a couple of games a week or a couple of games every 2 weeks is ideal. And the reason I say this is it gives time to recover mental capacity and prepare for games, especially for the game master. And the reason I say it's variable based on the number of groups you play with is, you can play with one and run the game on the other, or you can do a couple of other things. There's ways to balance that pretty well. And there is something to be said for playing with different groups. A lot of people have played with the same group for years and years, and that's cool. I have nothing against that. But there is something to be said about spreading out and sort of, well, this group is great for this kind of game, and this group's great for this kind of game. And so going back and forth there, much beyond one a week, and you start getting into, it's too much. And honestly, once every 2 weeks is probably a better deal. I'd love to be able to have the kind of time to play once a week, but I don't. And even when I was working like a normal job, playing a game once a week with the same group was not always easy. I'm going to say. My current job kills most of my planning in this regard, but if it becomes once a month, it begins to be too far apart. So I tend to go with once every 2 weeks per group. A month in between, and you start to sort of forget what happened in the last session. People have a hard time keeping that energy and excitement up. Once a week, once every 2 weeks is really ideal to keep that sort of energy up. So that's my thinking on frequency. As to the length of sessions, I don't like the 45-minute tabletop game. I played them, and I didn't get as much enjoyment out of it. My idea of a good session is at least 2 or 3 hours of dedicated roleplay time, not just setup and that, but actual roleplay time. 2 or 3 hours is a good range. I like having the nice long sessions. Like if you can have a weekend game, you can get a good 5 or 6 hours in. That's awesome. But it's a lot to ask for a lot of people. But if you're going if you're not going to get a full hour in, it's almost not worth, putting the game together. So somewhere between 2 to 6 hours. LARPs being accepted because they're different. They're an exception. But yeah, somewhere between 2 to 5 hours is the ideal length. Anything shorter than that, and you end up with, okay, this is a lot of work for a very short amount of reward, and you might as well just hang out and shoot the breeze. Tabletop board games being a different thing because it's less work of setup and so on. And if you go much above 5 hours, you start impeding into this is hard for people to get the time set aside, and once they get beyond a certain point, they start worrying about, well, I should be off doing this or I should be off doing that. So that can be a problem. So I say somewhere between 2 to 5 hours. Most folks probably can pull off 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours once a week pretty easily. Most folks, not everybody. And certainly once every couple of weeks. Having a nice long session once in a while to sort of stretch things out, like here's the climax of a campaign or something like that, and have that be a longer session is probably a good way to go. But I'm going to wrap it up on this because I'm at 18 minutes, and I think that I've got a lot more material to cover for tomorrow's episode. Thanks for everybody who has made suggestions, and I will have more suggestions covered tomorrow, including some people who haven't made suggestions before, so that'll be fun. And anyways, I hope you liked it. This is my sort of ramble on demand, and complete with lion mane meets mad scientist hair. And I'm gonna wrap this up. Let me know what you think. Subscribe, like, share with all the peoples, and check back with me tomorrow because I'll have the rest of my suggested material. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. Oh, pretty. Here's your reward. You can have a ruby.